What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
Pull my finger.
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another Diablo 3 Season 31 video. Today we're going to show you how to power up your wizard and crush GR100 in kind of the 60, 90, 2 minute range. Just really depends on the map. It is very map dependent, the wizard. Lots of fun, infinite resource, teleport round infinitely, lightning meteors crashing down and blowing everything up. I'm also going to show you a setup that does 110 in more the kind of 2 to 3 minute range. Now, again, maybe with some better gear, maybe with some better augments, my wizard is not perfectly built by any stretch of the imagination. These times can come down. Maybe we can push the rift up a little bit higher. Personally, I would be more interested in getting the time down and going farming my Paragon on the Necromancer or something else, but we'll go through it. Before we do get going, as always guys, a thumbs up brightens my day. Now, in Season 31 we have the open cube. We can make quite good use of this on the wizard because we can now take 3 weapons that interest us for Meteor. We can take the Grand Vizier in the cube, so Arcane Power, Meteor, 50% reduction, great. 400% increased damage, great. We can take the Smouldering Core, 50% increased damage, stacks up to 3 times, a 150% modifier. I would in some senses like to leave this out, but you just really need it for the Rift Guardian. The 150% increased damage I just don't think really can be beat. You can try conventional elements, but it's clunky. This 150% is going to be up all the time if something survives the first few meteor impacts. We're going to take the Mempo Twilight in the cube as well for the Meteor Shower, applying for whichever skill rune you choose for Meteor. You will always get the Meteor Shower, so you get lots of meteors coming down and 400% increased damage. Also, that allows us now to take the Aether Walker. Because we've got the 2 weapons modifiers in the cube, we can take Aether Walker. Teleport has no cooldown, but it costs Arcane Power. We're going to hold down the Meteor with the lightning rune because these cast instantly. So if we're holding this down, we're spamming and holding down teleport and spending arcane power. We're spending quite a lot of arcane power per second, so we kind of have to take a few steps to mitigate our resource cost reduction just to allow us to do that. Now, of course, one way is to take resource cost reduction in as many places as you can. So I've got it on my gloves, I've got it on my shoulders, I've actually got it on both of my rings. And I've got the Pride's Fall helm. Now, this is probably overkill. I could probably do with swapping one of these resource cost reduction rolls off for something else, but I do like the convenience of just never really having to worry about my arcane power. The Pride's Fall helm is, I think, an Act 3 bounty item. What this does is we get 30% resource cost reduction after not taking damage for 5 seconds. I quite like playing with this. I think it does keep things pretty zippy for us. We've got 5 pieces of Tal Rashas, which is the gloves, chest, belt, the trousers and the offhand. I've not got any resource cost reduction on here, so again I could make a roll here. I've left this on because it's dropped really well. It's got meteor damage, it's got APOC, arcane power on crit, it's got the 19 crit area damage, it's got 9.5 crit. Got an okay damage roll on it as well, so a fairly nice piece, so I could do something there. Ring of Royal Grandeur to make up the bonuses. Because we've got the bracelet and shoulder slot, it kind of makes sense to put the All Guilds in. I do quite like the blood braces for the extra shielding, but adding this elite hit power and just general damage from the All Guilds seems to make a bit of sense. A Carini is essential for toughness, 80% damage reduction. Of course, we take Storm Armor, and it is a little clunky. Sometimes it drops off, and if it does, you're probably going to proc your cheat death because that's a little bit how it is. At least at hundreds, that doesn't happen quite as often because we are still fairly tanky in Tal Rasha, and we are dumping out a lot of damage. So we can put a lot of enemies down, so it's a pretty chill way to do the 100s. Of course, Nifur's Boast is going to be in all the setups. Meteor damage, 600% increase, and for 3 or few enemies hit, we get this whopping up to 900% increased damage. Again, obviously really good for the Rift Guardian. Pain of the Trapped as a damage gem, Stone of Vengeance as a damage gem, and then the Powerful as a damage gem, and you're looking for lightning damage everywhere. I've got cold on this now because I've just literally been and tested the cold variant for the Comet rune. Didn't like it as much, so I'm going to roll this back to lightning later, but you definitely want lightning double crit on your squirts and lightning on your Orgills. Now the squirts pretty much for the hundreds. It is up quite a lot of the time. It's only going to drop if we lose our Carini, and that's because again we've got some damage mitigation items. Now the way Tal Rasha works is we've got to use 4 different elements. Once we've used those 4 elements, we can simply just teleport around and hold down meteor. We don't need to worry about those other buttons. So I guess that takes us to the skills. You just need any cold skill. It doesn't matter which cold skill you pick. You can take Black Hole because it will group things for you if you can be bothered with that. Meteor covers the lightning rune because it's the thunder crash. That's that sorted. We've got Calamity covering the arcanes, that's element 3, and then Familiar Spark gives us 10% increased damage, and it also activates the fire portion. So that's our 4 elemental abilities. After that, Magic Weapon Deflection for the big shield to keep up the squirts. We can at some point in another variant swap over to Magic Force for a bit more damage, and then we've got Storm Armor for the huge damage reduction, and then also Power of the Storm for 3 arcane power whilst it's active, which is handy. Arcane Power for Astral Presence, increasing the max and our rate of regeneration. Unstable Anomaly for the cheat death, just in case something goes wrong. Blur for the damage reduction, that's 17%, again just with a view to keeping the squirts up as much as possible, and then Galvanizing Ward, again giving us the shield. Blur can be swapped out for more damage, something like Power Hungry, something like Audacity, something like Elemental Exposure. Any one of those passives will add a bit more damage for us. The follower, I like the Inspire rune, again looking to try and push that arcane power as much as we can. I say not quite essential if you're taking the Pride's Fall, because it does give us this huge arcane power reduction. But this isn't the only way. That's like the GR100 setup. The GR100-110 setup is actually we're going to pop on the Guardians and pop on the Tal Rasha Amulet. So this means that we still get the 6 pieces of Tal Rasha. We drop the Pride's Fall, so we are a little bit sketchier on arcane power. Only really a problem if you run out of enemies to hit, because the APOC and the Alter of Rites giving the resource on crit will keep you topped up if there's enemies around, generally, I'd say. You maybe have to be a little bit more liberal with teleporting and holding it down whilst you teleport, so it is a little bit more kind of like less chill. But obviously the Guardians add a huge bunch of damage reduction. It adds a modifier essentially because it kind of gives us like an 80% uplift roughly on the intelligence. It's really hard to get a Guardian's Helm with crit, meteor damage and intelligence and a socket. You need 3 of those stats to drop and you can roll the 4th. I've pretty much used all my materials trying to craft this one, and this is the best that I've got. I do not have a nice Tal Rasha's Amulet at the moment, so again I'm on the lookout for that. Lightning double crit again would be kind of my preference. We can take the Tal Rasha's belt at some point and put on the Blackthorns. I've tried that spec as well. Didn't really seem to make much difference. So really, if you're going a little bit higher, I think this Guardians and the Orgilds and the Tal Rasha is quite nice. You also don't have to worry about the squirts. Like if you drop your Carini, you're not getting hammered with the downside of the squirts with the extra 50% damage taken. But obviously you're losing a modifier in the squirts because it is of course double damage, but it's somewhere kind of in between those and these kind of options. So obviously if you can't be bothered to go get a Pride's Fall helmet, then of course Guardians is going to be a way to go. If you are doing the Guardians, I do think the resource cost rolls become more important, simply because we are losing this 30% resource cost reduction. Topaz in the helmet, either which way, I think for resource cost reduction is handy. And I've just gone straight damage gems, again looking to try and put these rifts down as fast as possible, but you could consider armor, again with a view particularly more in a kind of a squirts setup, but ultimately I think just push damage. We're trying to clear these 110s as fast as we can. So I think that probably covers most of the potential gear swaps. If anybody's got any ideas on how to make this build faster or better, other than simply swapping some of my stats around. Your Carini, by the way, very important to get one very close to 80% damage reduction, because of course it will just give you so much more toughness. And in the Guardians version, we don't need Blur, so I definitely would swap over to Power Hungry, Audacity or Elemental Exposure, just to try and make sure that we're pumping that damage number up as high as we can. Overall, brilliant build for Visions of Enmity, brilliant build for like GR100 to 110. As I say, I'm hoping to bring my times down a little bit as I improve the pieces, but I'm absolutely jammed out of gems. I'm jammed out of Whisper of Atonement gems. I'm running pretty low on just resources in general. Obviously trying to set up so many builds is a bit of a challenge, but it is a lot of fun. Tal Rasha, I think, is strong for pushing. Again, at some point I will try and have a little push with this, but for speed it is nice to use the cube in Season 31, and looking for that kind of like primal efficiency breakpoint of GR100 and upwards. Yeah, I think a pretty good build. Lots of fun to play, always a fan favourite, the Meteor. So I've been the Filthy Casual. I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.